Colleagues, it's time for us to start our meeting, and we've also formed a quorum. So let's start our meeting. Today we have 2 meetings to handle the agenda items. After this meeting, we'll take a break of 10 minutes. The second meeting will be held at 5:10 p.m. I'd like to remind members that if they have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest related to any agenda item, they should, in accordance with ROP 83A, before speaking, disclose the nature of the interest. May I also draw your attention to ROP 84 in relation to direct pecuniary interest and how will that impact on voting arrangements. Today we're on FCR 2014-15-34A. In attendance, we have Mr. Howard Chan, the Deputy Director of Environmental Protection, and Mr. Wong Kam Seng, the Secretary for the Environment. On this paper, I ruled previously that 178 motions, are directly related to the paper. This noon, I received another 60 motions from Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. I'll handle the 2 batches of motions totaling 238 items together and put them to the vote one by one. Let me read out the sequence. So would you please follow the sequence so you know who is in front of you. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki, 5. Mr. Gary Fan, 14. Mr. Albert Chan, 45. Ms. Sito, 1. Dr. Fernando Chang, 15. Ms. Emily Lau, 8. Mr. Kenneth Chan, 50. And Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, altogether 100. So I put him at the end. So altogether 238 motions. After we've handled the motions moved by members in accordance with FC Procedure Paragraph 37A, I'll put the proposal in the paper to the vote. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki. Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. The speaker has not switched on his microphone. Sorry, the speaker has not switched on his microphone. Mr. Chairman, we can't hear him. Would you please switch on the microphone? Would you please switch on your microphone? Would you please switch on your microphone? Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. Can you hear me? No, your microphone has not been switched on yet. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, just now the green light was not on. Now it's on. Concerning declaration of interest, previously I mentioned that Ms. Christine Low, before she became the Undersecretary, her institution was or would be responsible for, or that institution was closely related to the company that was due to tender for this item, and such interests have never been disclosed. Can I seek a clarification on senior officials when they come to the Finance Committee? What about their interests? Should they not clearly declare and explain those interests to us? Mr. Chan? Mr. Chairman, in this Q&A session, we actually got the same question before, and we've answered that question. We have a sound declaration system. As for phase 1 of this integrated waste management facilities, we've not yet started tendering procedures. So there's no question of participating tenderers contacting our officials or coming into contact with our officials. Mr. Albert Chan mentioned the Undersecretary for the Environment. She will not take part in the vetting of bids. And our department will set up an independent vetting panel. The Central Tender Board will also be vetting the bids. Well, Mr. Abachan, I don't want to follow up on this any further. Concerning declaration of interests, in this council, we're talking about declaration by members, not by officials. You have asked a question. I've allowed him to answer the question. No follow-up, please. We have a lot to do today. Dr. Kwakaki, in accordance with, well, yes, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, yes. Yes, 5 minutes. This is the first item, so 5 minutes for division. In accordance with paragraph 37A of the FC procedure, I move that as the SARG, when submitting the paper for project 177DR, points out that the emission level must reach the EU level before funding allocation. So this committee requests the SARG to first explain how to attain these standards and work details before related works should continue.
現在開始表決。
Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results, 17 for, 26 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Ip Kok Him. Mr. Chairman, in accordance with FC Procedure 47, I move that for similar items in this meeting, for any motions, this meeting should proceed to the vote after the division bell has rung for 1 minute. And I'll put the question to you, and that is, Mr. Ip Kok Him moves, the motion moved by Mr. Ip Kok Him be passed. Does any member wish to speak? Mr. Leong Kok Hong? Mr. Leong Kok Hong, I'd like to remind you that no amendment can be moved to this motion. After we've taken a vote on Mr. Ip Kok Him's motion, if he loses, you can move another motion for the vote to proceed after the division bell has rung for 1 minute 30 seconds. Does any member wish to speak? Would you please press your button? Mr. Aberchan, 3 minutes each. Mr. Chairman, concerning this question, we argued a number of times in the past. Now is 3:10 p.m. We have to vote on 200 motions. If we only give each motion 1 minute, for every part we have 2 hours. So in the next 1 hour, 15 minutes or so, it's not quite possible that you can rise from your seat if we have to vote on each and every motion. In past council meetings, we did have members fall. Fortunately, we did not have any fatalities or injuries. Here we have many elderly people, elderly councillors. Some members, including myself, have natural cause. So it's quite difficult to resist this call of nature. So, to be human, well, Mr. Chairman, you looked at Mr. Ip Kok Him, not me. Just now I raised my hand to move for 3 minutes. But Mr. Chairman, you selectively picked which member should move a motion first. In fact, I raised my hand earlier than he, but you only looked at him. Mr. Ip Kok Him's motion is like this. I really want to have another motion. And every time I think the division bell should ring for 5 minutes. Now, we're discussing motions moved under FC Procedure 37A. When it comes to the real motion, some members may not grasp the details. For Procedure 37A, we're discussing motions without prior notice, and some members are absent, some pro-establishment members just don't come, and even for the Pan-Democrats, sometimes they only have 6 to 7 votes. As for voting on the incinerator, many members would like to cast their votes. In the past, we did have cases in which members did not have time to actually vote on fund allocation. So even if we can allow 1 minute, after we finish all the motions under Procedure 37A, when it comes to the actual funding allocation motion, we should revert to 5 minutes. That's more reasonable, because the original intention is to expedite the process. Well, Mr. Aberchan, let me say a few things. In fact, 2 meetings ago, we discussed whether or not we can revert to 5 minutes after finishing all the motions under 37A. The answer was in the negative. And last time, many members requested, in fact, in particular the Pan-Democrat colleagues, asked about this. And when Mr. Albert Chan and Mr. Chan Chi-chin continuously submitted more motions to us, I asked them how, well, when we only have 10 motions left under 37A, I'll make an announcement, and you can always call your colleagues in the same political party back when we come to the last fifth motion. We have to follow the procedure. First of all, I have to thank you for your care. You're concerned about the elderly councillors here. In fact, I'm also old now. I think I'm the oldest here. I cannot leave my seat as well. So thank you very much for your concern. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, well, I think everybody has to have convenience, be it excretion or urination. One needs 1.5 minutes, be it males or females. So even for males, we need 1.5 minutes. But of course, for females, for the ladies, they need more out of biological needs. Number one, you should allow male or female councillors here to, for every hour, raise their hands to put forth a trump card, that is, to ask for a time to go to the toilet. Well, just now you said that there will not be enough time for voting. Well, in fact, the journalists there are sitting at the plastic tables under those umbrellas. Well, the officials are also sitting in the room to be on call, to be convened here, so they can also benefit. Well, if I'm the CE, I'll be better than CY Leung. I won't make property prices escalate. Well, I suggest this trump card system. So, once every hour for us to go to the toilet is very reasonable. Well, yes, I got kidney infection and gallstones as well. Well, Mr. Chairman, it's very miserable to have to tolerate when you actually have to go to the toilet. You may get kidney stones or gallstones. So, the trump card is once every hour, all right, for members to go to the toilet. Right, Mr. Wong Kwok Heng? I'm talking about the human approach. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng and Mr. Christopher Chung, please do not engage yourselves in a dialogue between yourselves. Well, I have kidney stones, so I support this trump card system. And for the media, place some tables and chairs, let them take a rest there, and then come back in a minute. Next time, elect me. Well, next time when you elect electoral commission members, please elect me. I work for your interest. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, have you finished? Well, he asked you to distribute plastic bags to us. Well, we're not playing with plastic flowers. Well, you mentioned the Electoral Commission, and maybe you should go to the Committee on Rules of Procedure. Mr. Chan Chi-chin, well, Mr. Chairman, you asked Mr. Leung Kwok Hong to go to the Electoral Commission or the Committee on Rules of Procedure. Well, you're correct. But before he can go to those two committees to review the electoral system, we shouldn't change the system. 3 minutes, please. Well, last time when we discussed the West End Tea landfill, I already wanted to raise this point, but we did not have the chance to do so. Well, basically, even if we are to just read out our motion, it's quite difficult, let alone those listening and those who are trying to understand our motions. And you see, sometimes our speaking ability also diminishes.
We also discussed the nature's call, which is of course very important. I ran into Mr. Jasper Zhang, and he said that the quorum bell allows people like Mr. Andrew Leung to make a visit to the toilet. So different people have the same needs. Your assumption is it's okay. There are more than 100 items or a few hundred items. Some people don't care if they cast a vote for every single one, while some other members care about each and every one. They want to stay here the whole time to cast a vote, so you cannot assume that it is okay for some members to forgo the voting for some of these items. So we're talking about physical and also psychological pressure. 1 minute is not enough. You said that for every item, when there are 5 left or 10 left, you will notify us and you're going to draw a line somewhere so there will be no 37A added. But the situation is we can add. So perhaps your good intention is not going to work. For example, the paternity leave, some of the members couldn't make it back to cast the votes. If we keep it at 5 minutes, then it's fine. You have time to go to the washroom. You can understand and digest the motion and decide whether we want to vote for or against. If I bring another 100 motions forward, how much time can you save? Mr. Chen Shixun, last week I asked you for advice. I did not draw a line. So I just want you to work with the chairman so that the rules of procedure are effective. I asked about whether you have anything to do and you said no. I asked any more motions and then you said no, so I can predict how many left and I can notify other members. I never did this before. Because when you continue to submit new motions, I did not say anything until the end, and you worked with me. Okay? There's nothing I can do. I need 69 members to help the orderly proceeding of this committee. Dr. K.K. Kwok. Chairman, I didn't have anything to say, but Mr. Leung Kwok-hong is so concerned about our need to urinate. I would like to speak in the standpoint of a doctor. If you don't go frequently, it doesn't mean you're going to have stones in your gallbladder or kidney. I think the problem may be with the bladder instead. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong has said that when men become a certain age, it is very common that they may have prostate problems, and if you are over 60, there will be swelling of some sort in the prostate, and 1 minute is not enough for urination. So he's particularly concerned about older members, the male members, about their health. In public hospitals, now we have set up many men's health clinics. Many more people have come forward to seek help. So if the bell only rings for 1 minute, it's not a major problem for the plenary session because there aren't too many amendment motions. But at the FC level, we have to face 178 to 230 motions. We have to stay here the whole time, and if the break is only 1 minute, it's not convenient. Mr. Yip Kok Him's motion may get endorsed because the pro-government camp is all here, but there is a management issue. For example, every 1 hour you can give us a break, a short one, so that you yourself or other older members who may be suffering from prostate swelling to have enough time to urinate. I think there should be some sort of allowance, and I'm sure members will pay attention to prostate health. Some administrative arrangements can help such older members. Thank you for your concern. For myself, I'm 65. I think after you become 60, your prostate will swell up, or it may become bigger. Doesn't mean you cannot urinate within 1 minute. Central Chairman, there's no need to pretend to be merciful. Otherwise, we should all withdraw the motions. It will be very good for our health. I sat here for 9 hours on Wednesday. I'm just a little bit younger than you, so I support 1 minute. Okay, anyone else? We'll now put it to the vote. The division bell is going to ring for 5 minutes.
We have
3.5 minutes if you need to pay a visit to the washroom. For those especially over 65 or 60 years of age, please visit the washroom now.
現在開始表決。
Now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed. Let's display the results. 32 for, 15 against. I declare the motion passed. Dr. K.K. Kwok. According to 37A of the Rules of Procedure of the Finance Committee, according to the works document of 1770R, after funding has been approved, they are going to follow up on the setting up of a district liaison group and also follow up on the first phase of management facilities concerning the waste management facilities in terms of the design and monitoring work. We'd like to ask about the composition of the group and the terms of reference. So 1 minute for the voting. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify votes. Voting is closed. Let's display the results. 14 for, 26 against. I declare the motion negatived. Dr. K.K. Kwok. Just now, Chairman, the counter was less than 1 minute. I'm worried that some members have not yet returned. Please pay attention to the technical point. According to 37A of the Rules of Procedure of the FC, I move that according to the 1770R works documents, they are going to follow up on the compensation issue for affected fishermen. I ask that the SAR government should first tell us about the details of such compensation and the relevant work before they proceed. Actually, I gave you 1 minute, 1 whole minute. We will not shorten the time. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 13 for, 27 against. I declare the motion negatived. Dr. K.K. Kwok. Chairman, according to 37A of the Rules of Procedures of FC, I move that according to the documents contained in the Works Project 1770R, after they obtain the funding, they are going to actively respond to the request by the nearby community. We ask the government to first inform us of the nature of the different requests and how they are going to follow up before proceeding to the work. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. We'll now display the results. 12 for, 26 against. I declare motion negatived. Dr. K.K. Kwok. Chairman, according to 37A of Rules of Procedure of the FC, I now move that according to the documents for Works Project 1770R, the prevailing wind is northeasterly in Changchao, and it is different compared to the fact pointed out by the island's district councillor, saying that 85% of the time the prevailing wind is southwesterlies and the ashes will be blown to the center of Changchao. I urge the government to work on the detailed report before proceeding to the project. Next one is Mr. Fan Kok Wei. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify the votes. Voting closed. Will now display the results. 12 for, 26 against. I declare motion negatived. Mr. Fan Kok Wei? According to 37A of Rules of Procedure of FFC, I move that this committee urges the government to not affect the habitat of the dolphins nearby during the construction of the incinerator.
現在開始表決。在我宣布表決結果前，請委員核對所作嘅表決。現在停止表決，顯示點票結果。表決結果係12票贊成，26票反對。我宣布建議遭否決。范國威員，
按照財務委員會會議程序第37A 條，本人動議，本委員會促請政府興建焚化爐時，不影響百福海鷗的棲息。
According to 37A of the Rules of Procedure, this committee urges government not to affect the habitat of the seagulls while constructing the incinerator. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. Let's display the results. 11 for, 25 against. I declare the motion negative to Mr. Fan Kok Wei. According to 37A of Rules of Procedure of FC, I move that this committee urges the government not to affect the ecology of the corals while constructing the incinerator.
現在開始表決。
We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 12 yes, 24 no. The motion is negative. In accordance with Rule 37A of the Rules of Procedures of the Finance Committee, I move that these committee urges the government to make sure that the construction of the incinerators will not affect the development of local fishery. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the results. 12 yes, 25 no. I declare that the motion is negative. Mr. Gary Fan, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that since after the commissioning of the incinerators, 3,000 tons of rubbish will be transported to Shek Koo Chau every day. So these committee should urge the government to adopt measures to ensure that there will be no accident in the course of transportation so as to protect the ocean. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 12 for, 23 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that because the Hong Kong government is doing a bad job in terms of waste reduction as source, therefore this committee should urge the government to give us a report on this issue before the construction of the incinerator. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the results. 11 for, 23 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move that because recently government projects have been overspending and overrunning the budgets, this committee should urge the government to ensure that the construction of the incinerators would not overspend. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the results. 11 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that because while our Environmental Service Hong Kong company emitted exceedingly heavy pollutants during the construction of Wai Chau incinerators in 2013. This committee should urge the government, when it calls for tender, it should seriously consider the track record of the said company. We now now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 11 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang. In accordance with Rules 37A of the FC procedure, I move that this committee urges the government to ensure that the waste to be burnt in the incinerators in the future would have to be sorted. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 11 for, 23 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that this committee urges the government to first shelve the incinerator projects. It should wait for the completion of the judicial review before it submits Project 177D to the Legislative Council. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 10 for, 23 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that this committee urges the government to make reference to EU standards, which governs the emission of incinerators after constructing the incinerators. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 9 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that because Hong Kong people have to put up with the pollutants emitted by the incinerators. Therefore, this committee should urge the government to sell the electricity supplied by the incinerators to Hong Kong people at the rate of half of them, at a tariff rate of half of the market price. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 12 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that because Hong Kong people have to put up with the pollutants emitted by the incinerators, therefore this committee should urge the government to sell the electricity supplied by the incineration to Hong Kong people at a tariff rate of 1/6 of the market price. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 10 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Gary Fang, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that because Hong Kong people have to put up with the pollutants emitted by the incinerators, therefore this committee should urge the government to sell the electricity produced by incineration to Hong Kong people at a tariff rate of 1/4 of the market price. Mr. Albert Chen, you will be the next one. Do you have to go to the toilet? Well, if you want to go to a toilet for a longer period of time, it's very easy. You can rescind all the motions that you're going to move. I am sitting here as though I cannot dream, but sometimes there are miracles. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the results. 10 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chen, thank you, Chairman. I move that because the administration says that the integrated waste treatment facilities phase 1 are adopting advanced technologies and they will comply with the most stringent environmental protection control standards of EU. This committee asks that before the phase 1 design, construction and operation contract is awarded, the government must ensure that all the EU stringent standards are complied with. Otherwise, the company that is awarded the contract would have to make compensation to the government. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 9 for, 20 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chen. Chairman, I urge that because after the completion of the IWMF, a certain amount of dioxin and PM 2.5 pollutants would be emitted and it will damage the health of the people living in the vicinity. Therefore, before its construction, we have to ensure that the government would set up relevant healthcare mechanisms and compensation regime so that when the pregnant women and babies as well as other residents living in the vicinity, if they encounter health problems because of inhaling the emissions, they can receive appropriate healthcare service and can get suitable compensation. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 10 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. I move that because surveys show that 150 microgram per cubic meter of carbon dioxide after inhaling it for 3 to 24 hours, there will be respiratory system problems. For example, coughing, fever, short of breath, nausea, headache, etc. I'm sorry, the speakers are speaking off mic. Well, for the EIA report, it has set a limit for a emission that is 200 microgram per cubic meter. That is much higher than the level which would cause intoxication of human beings. This council should make sure that before the construction of the IWMF, this level be reduced from 200 microgram to 100 microgram. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. We now display the result. 8 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, the 3 landfills are now almost saturated, so the government is now proposing to build an IWMF. We ask the administration that before the works start, it has to legislate on recovery of waste and set a timetable so as to show that the government is willing to impose a mandatory system of waste sorting so as to reduce the amount of waste.
Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, Mr. Chairman, I move that as the administration applied for funding here because of saturation of the waste disposal facilities, I ask that before phase 1 civil engineering and foundation work start, policies must be formulated to reduce the per capita waste production to the Taiwan and South Korea levels to show its determination to reduce the amount of waste disposed of. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 9 for, 21 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that as phase 1 of the project involves reclamation of 16 hectares, thus posing threat to the Chinese white dolphins in the vicinity, I urge the administration to, before starting phase 1 of the project, formulate initiatives to ensure that the living environment of Chinese white dolphins would not be threatened by the reclamation works. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 9 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Abachan, Chairman, I move that as Phase 1 of the project involves public expenditure of over $18 million, the government should undertake not to hire workers outside Hong Kong in terms of design and build to ensure that public money can be well used and local job opportunities can be increased. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 7 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, thank you, Chairman. I move that as Phase 1 of the project and the EIA report indicates that the administration did inquire the incineration contractor and understand that the cost would be lower than sulfurization and gasation, and decided to use this more polluting technology with more polluting emissions. This committee urges the administration to specify in the contract that the successful bidder should, when building the facility, the integrated waste management facilities, the cost has to compensate the government if the cost exceeds that of gasation, so as to ensure that public money is well spent. Voting now begins. Please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. 8 for, 22 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Abachan, I move that as many incineration activities and technology adopted by advanced cities can ensure that incineration will not emit toxic materials and substances, and the administration is not going to mandatorily require the public to segregate waste. This committee requests the administration to, when tendering for this design, build and operation contract, specify in the tender document that only companies with over 10 years of experience in such technology should be responsible for this design, build, and operation contract. Voting begins. Please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 18 against. The motion is negative. Mr. Abachan, I move that as the EIA report for this project reports that there will be a daily generation of 660 tons of ashes, this committee requests the administration to, when granting this design, build, and operate contract, specify that the daily production of ash will not exceed 300 tons to ensure that this phase will not generate excessive ashes, thus posing serious impact on the environment. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results, 8 for, 19 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Abachan, I move that according to the EIA report of this project, Phase 1 in its operation will generate a daily quantity of 800 tons of flying ash and incineration-based ashes, and such ashes will be dumped in the West New Territories landfill. This committee requests the administration, when granting this design, build and operate contract, specify that such ashes will not be dumped at the West NT landfill to avoid further threat to the health of the residents of West NT. Mr. Lau Wong-Fat should support this motion. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results, 8 for, 19 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Abachan. Thank you, Mr. Lau Wong-Fat, for your support. I move that as the EIA report of this project indicates that during operation every year, 1,447 tons of sulfur dioxide would be generated, thus posing serious threat to the air quality of South Lantau and Chang Chau. This committee requests the administration before granting the contract, specify that the contractor must restrict the annual emission amount of sulfur dioxide to below 300 tons to ensure that this Phase 1 will not pose serious harm to the air quality of South Lantau and Chang Chau. Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results, 8 for, 19 against. I declare the motion negative. So, Mr. Abachan, thank you, Chairman. I move that in accordance to EIA report for this project, during the operation of this Phase 1, there will be a daily production of over 800 tons of ashes, which will be dumped in West NT landfill. This committee requests the administration to, before granting the design, build and operate contract, ensure that the contractor inspect daily at least once the amount of ashes produced and ensure that such ashes will not contain any heavy metal before dumping such ashes in the West NT landfill. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results, 9 for, 19 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Abachan? Thank you, Chairman. I move that as the EIA report of this project indicates that during the operation of this Phase 1, there will be a daily production of 217 tons of RSPs, thus posing serious threat to the air quality at the drug treatment center at Shak Koo Chau. This committee requests the administration to, at the granting of the design, build and operate contract, require the contractor to ensure that the annual emission of RSP of this Phase 1 will not exceed 20 tons to ensure that this phase will not pose serious threat to the air quality around the drug treatment center at Shak Koo Chau. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 20 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that as during the first phase of this project, a huge quantity of vessels carrying construction materials and sand and stones will pass through the waters in front of Shek Kwu Chau. And every day there will be a huge quantity of transportation of ashes by vessels, as well as by vessels transporting solid wastes in the neighboring waters, thus generating a great deal of noise, sewage, or even grease, thus posing great nuisance to the finless porpoises. Therefore, this committee requests the administration to legislate to ensure that there wouldn't be such adverse impacts. Voting now begins. Please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display results 8 for, 18 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. As the operation of phase 1 of this project will emit extremely toxic ashes, and when such ashes enter the sea, they would be absorbed by marine organisms and animals. This committee requests the administration to, before starting such foundation works and civil engineering works, formulate inspection and testing mechanisms to ensure that human beings will not be threatened after eating such ashes that flew into the seafood products. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, thank you, Chairman. I move that as phase 1 of the project involves 1.18 billion of public money, and the company being awarded the contract, apart from having the power to operate the facility, will also be responsible for design, build, and operation. Therefore, for the successful bidder, when operating the facility, should, free of charge, open the facility for public visits, such that members of the public can understand the conditions of operation of this facility at any time. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that as phase 1 of the project involves over $18 billion of public money, and the related works are highly likely to be awarded to one single contractor, this committee requests the administration to, when granting the contract, legislate to require that if there's serious overspending and slippage, the successful bidder should immediately report to the public, and the administration can formulate penalty mechanisms to punish hiding of overspending and slippage, such that members of the public can immediately understand the overspending and slippage of the works to avoid a recurrence of the situation with the XRL in terms of slippage. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I move that as the design, build and operate model will be used for the contract for this project, the successful bidder, apart from responsible for design and build, they will also be operating the facilities. In the government's paper to the FC, the operation contract will be as long as 15 years, plus the period of design and construction of 6 years. It will be a total of 21 years in terms of the contract. This committee requests the administration to, before granting the contract, study penalty clauses such that if the successful bidder performs unsatisfactorily, the company should, in accordance with all sorts of mistakes and losses, provide us with reasonable compensation. Voting now begins. Please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 14 against. The motion is negative. Mr. Albert Chan, thank you, Chairman. I move that as this project will emit dioxin and other pollutants like PM2.5, this committee requests the administration to, before starting the civil engineering and foundation works, set up a statutory monitoring body such that when the air quality and emission exceed standards, works should stop. The operation of the facility should stop before starting phase 1 of this project. Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, members, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. Display voting results. Voting results 8 for, 16 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, I move that as this project is near to the drug treatment facilities on Shekou Chao, but in the paper for funding allocation, there is no detailed assessment on the impact of the operation on the drug treatment center. This committee requests the administration to, before starting civil engineering and foundation works, commission independent consultants to assess the impact of such incineration facilities to the drug treatment center to ensure that the facility will not cause the air quality in the vicinity of the drug treatment center to deteriorate before starting the related works.
We
now proceed to the vote. Before I announce results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed and we display the results. 8 for, 15 against. I declare motion negative to Mr. Albert Chan. Because of the coverage of first phase of the waste management facilities covers 16 hectares, which may cause adverse impacts on the nearby waters, this committee urges the government to first set up a water quality monitoring group comprising green groups, EP experts, and representatives from the fishermen groups, members of the public and EPD, to begin monitoring work of the water quality in the vicinity. We'll now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed. Please display the results. 8 for, 18 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that because in phase 1 of the waste management facilities, the contingency fee is as high as 1 billion. And it involves very complicated technologies and involves community interests. This committee urges the government to set up a tender assessment committee involving local residents, officials and LegCo members to vet the tender documents in an open, fair and just manner to ensure wise use of public money and ensure that the contractor will be accountable to the public. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed. Let's display the results. 9 for, 17 against. I declare motion negative. Mr. Albert Chen. Thank you, Chairman. I move that since the administration said that the first phase of the facilities can reduce solid waste by 90%, this committee urges the government to specify in the contract that after completion of the facilities, if the mass of waste cannot be reduced by 90%, a penalty can be imposed on the company that has won the contract or replace the operator of the facilities to ensure wise use of public money under the design, build and operate contract and ensure that 90% of the waste can be reduced in size with the use of the facilities. We now proceed to vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 8 for, 19 against. I declare motion negative. To Mr. Albert Chen. I move that the first phase of the waste management facility has a contingency fee as high as at 1 billion. We ask that an independent consultant should be responsible for the management of that contingency fee to ensure that the $1 billion will not be casually used by the company winning the contract. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 8 for, 19 against. I declare motion negative. To Mr. Albert Chen. I move that because the first one of waste management facilities will involve public money of more than 19.2 billion, and the administration is going to award the contract under DBO contract, and the project may be won by a wealthy overseas company. This committee urges the administration to ensure that subcontracting work can go to local companies so that the local construction and engineering industries can benefit from the project. We proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 8 for, 20 against. I declare the motion negative. To Mr. Albert Chen. I move that since the first phase of the waste management facilities will involve public money of $19.2 billion, it is very likely that the contract will be awarded to an overseas company. We urge the government to ensure that such company has not been involved in corruption offenses, to ensure they have good corporate governance and ensure wise use of $19.2 billion. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. Let's display the results. 8419 against, motion negatived. Ms. Albert Chen, I move that, according to the FC papers, the administration said that residual power of 480 million degrees can be emitted by the waste management facilities. We urge the government to penalize the contract-winning company if they fail to satisfy that level of residual power, or have them replaced, to ensure that the company winning the design, build, and operate contract will use public money wisely and have an output of 480 million degrees of residual power. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 7-4, 18 against. I declare the motion is negatived. Ms. Albert Chen, I move that, according to FC papers, the administration said that the daily handling capacity of the facility will be 3,000 tons. We urge the administration to set out clearly in the contract if the facility cannot handle 3,000 tons of waste, the contract-winning company can be penalized or replaced, to ensure that the contract-winning company will make good use of public money and construct a consolidated waste handling facility that has a daily capacity of 3,000 tons. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed will display the results. 7-4, 18 against, motion negative. To Mr. Albert Chen, I move that since phase 1 of the waste management facility will cover 16 hectares of reclamation, we urge that before beginning of the civil work and foundation work, there should be no dredging outside of the sea area to the south of Lantau Island, to ensure that the water quality in that vicinity will not continue to deteriorate. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 5-4, 17 against. I declare motion negative. To Mr. Bachan. Chairman, I move that since phase 1 of the consolidated waste management facility involves public money expenditure of $19.2 billion, in recent years, over-budgeting is very serious concerning large-scale works projects. If the phase 1 facilities go over budget, there will be serious losses to the local government. We urge the administration to adopt necessary measures to ensure there will be no over budgeting for the first phase of the facilities. We proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 7 for and 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Chen, I move that since the completion of the first phase of the facilities, plenty of kitchen waste will be handled. We urge the government to formulate policies to reduce territory-wide kitchen waste by half before proceeding to civil engineering work and foundation work, so as to reduce the amount of waste to be handled or treated at the facilities and reduce the level of emission of gases from the facilities. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 7 for, 15 against. I declare motion negative. To Mr. Chen, I move that since the completion of the first phase of the waste management facilities will create a lot of exhaust affecting the nearby air quality, the government should undertake that when it is southerly or westerly wind in Hong Kong, there would be stoppage of the emission of exhaust to ensure that the exhaust from the facilities would not lead to deterioration of the air quality on Hong Kong Island and New Territory West. We proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed. Let's display the results. 8 for and 16 against. Motion negatived. Mr. Chen, I move that after completion of phase 1 of the facilities, the living environment will deteriorate very quickly on Chengchao and Lantau South, where the government to first consult the local residents and obtain support of more than 50% of the local residents before they proceed to the civil engineering work and foundation work. Let's proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 6 for, 16 against. Motion negatived. Mr. Chen. Thank you, Chairman. Since the domestic plastic refuse takes up an important proportion of municipal solid waste, and the burning of such waste will lead to emission of dioxin affecting local residents' health, we urge the government to first ban transportation of plastic waste to the burning facility before commencement of the civil engineering work and foundation work. After implementation of such measures, they can proceed to the first phase of the waste management facility. Let's proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is closed. Let's display the results. 8 for, 15 against. I declare motion negative. Mr. Albert. Thank you. Since the government allows importation of a lot of waste, leading to the possibility of incineration of a lot of imported waste, we urge the government to first formulate policies to ban the handling of any imported waste at the management facilities before civil engineering work and foundation work, so as not to waste our public money on burning imported waste. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed will display the results. 8 for, 14 against. I declare motion negative. Mr. Albert. Since the sea area outside Shekujiao is a main habitat for porpoises, and in the funding document, the administration did not explain the impact on such porpoises. We request the government to engage independent consultant to assess the impact of phase 1 work on porpoises to ensure that they will not be threatened by first phase of the work. It's not white dolphin, it is finless porpoise. We'll proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting closed. Let's display the results. 6 for, 15 against. I declare the motion negative. To Mr. Albert. Chairman, I move that after the completion of phase 1 of the waste management facilities, thermal treatment will be applied on handling waste, and we urge the government to first formulate policies to prevent handling of waste containing mercury to ensure the facilities will not burn waste with a content containing mercury, leading to toxic gas emission damaging the public's health before they move on to the civil engineering and foundation work.
Voting starts. Before I announce the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 6 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert. Chairman, I move that after the completion of the phase 1 of IWMF, the facility will be handling a lot of waste with high temperature. This committee should ask the administration to do this before the civil engineering works and the foundation formation. That is, all the cans with compressed air, for example, insecticides, will not be burnt in the incinerators because that may cause explosion and the incineration facilities may be damaged. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 7 for 18 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I move that because many major public works projects have overspent, and the project contractors have been having a lot of arguments with the government concerning overspending. This committee should urge the government to do this. That is, before the tendering exercise of the phase 1 of the IWMF, the DBO contract should state clearly the responsibility of the contractors so that the government will not have to bear unnecessary responsibilities. Voting starts. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 7 for 16 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that in the past years, when the government call for tenders concerning public works, the price factors was given too much weight. As a result, inexperienced contractors or those contractors who didn't perform well were awarded such contracts just because their tendering price was low. As a result, many projects were delayed and the government suffered a lot of losses. And now the construction cost of the IWMF Phase 1 is as high as $19.2 billion. This committee should urge the government not to pay too much attention to the price. Instead, it should look at the experience and the track record as well as the professionalism of the prospective contractors. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 7 for 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I move that because the construction cost of the IWMF is as high as $19.2 billion, and this project involves complicated technologies. However, the government said that it will only take 2 years to complete the tendering exercise. Lately, public works projects costs have been increasing, and there is a shortage of manpower in the construction industry. Therefore, this committee should urge the government not to confine the tendering exercise to 2 years, and it should be more flexible. Otherwise, the government may be subject to this constraints and has to bear extraordinarily high cost. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 7 for 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan, Chairman, I move that after the IWMF Phase 1 comes into operation, different types of vessels will be navigating in the waters near Shakuchao. This will make the navigation channel more busy, and it will have a negative impact on the habitats of the purpose. Therefore, this committee should urge the government to do this. That is, before the project commences, in an area of 700 hectares outside Shakuchao, purpose reserve area should be established. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 7 for 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that because the IWMF Phase 1 involves a sum of public money exceeding $18 billion, and during the construction of incinerators, the workers on site will have to work more than 3,000 hours in total. That means a lot of workers will be spending a long time on sites. Therefore, before awarding the DBO contracts, the government should provide comfortable dormitories to the on-site workers so as to ensure the on-site workers and engineers would be treated in a reasonable manner. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 7 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I move that in the past few years, many incinerators, when they burn petroleum products and organic solvents, a lot of organic composites would be emitted, and this kind of chemicals would have permanent damage on people's lungs, and it would also hurt their immune systems. So in the facilities study concerning the IWMF, the government said that the emission level would be lower than 30 microgram per cubic meter. This committee should urge the government to do this. That is, before awarding the DBO contract, it should ensure that the organic composites emitted by the facilities should be, if it is higher than 30 microgram. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the result, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 9 for, 17 against. I declare the motion negative. Ms. Sit Ho. Ms. Sit Ho. Chairman. In accordance with 33A of the FC procedure, we think that 20 billion recurrent expenditure should be spent each year so as to create green jobs, and abuse of the incinerator should be avoided. Mr. Albert Chan, when I look at you, you seem pretty tired, so I hope that you won't be moving more than 30 motions next time.
If
you move less motions, I think you can keep your youth. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 9 against, 18, 9 yes, 18 no. I declare the motion negative. When Hong Kong is compared with other countries, Hong Kong is very backward in terms of battery recycling. If batteries are sent to incinerators, the toxins inside batteries will give rise to serious toxins, for example, magnesium, mercury, etc. So I urge that the government should promote the recovery and recycle of batteries. Otherwise, they will be sent to the incinerators, and this will seriously damage the citizens' health and the environment. Voting starts. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 7 yes, 19 no. I declare the motion negative. Professor Fernando Zhang. Well, for some of the ways, for example, this batteries. They may contain toxins such as mercury, magnesium, nickel, etc. However, the government has not told us whether such waste will be treated specially before they send to the batteries. Therefore, in accordance with Rule 37A, I move that the government must undertake that that before incineration the waste will be sorted or treated in a special manner, and clear guidelines should be issued in this regard. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 9 yes, 19 no. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. In accordance with FC Paper FCR 2014-15-34A paragraph 6, the government says that for the design of the facility is in line with the advanced technology as stated in EU standards. However, Hong Kong now does not have rules governing chimney emission standards. If the incinerator breaches the standards, it is difficult to hold any party responsible. Therefore, in accordance with Rule 37A, I urge the government to set up chimney emission standards for Hong Kong so as to monitor the incinerators and make sure that they will not affect Hong Kong people's health and pollute Hong Kong's environment. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 10 yes, 21 no. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. According to FC Paper FCR 2014-15-34A paragraph 6, the government says that the design of the facilities are in line with the advanced incineration technology as stated in the EU standards. However, the government has not provided health standards assessments supplied by pathologists. Therefore, in accordance with Rule 37A, I urge that the government must provide us with a health standard assessment made by pathologists so that we will know what kind of health risks will be brought by the incinerators. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 12 yes, 20 no. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. In Hong Kong now, we do not have relevant laws governing the operation of the incinerators. Air Pollution Control Ordinance does not target incinerators, and the EU standards can just be applied in accordance with contracts. The public cannot intervene. Therefore, I urge that the government to formulate incinerator control ordinance, and the waste sent to incinerators should be regulated. A pollution standard should be set up so that the whole process of incineration can be monitored. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 12 for, 20 against. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. The incinerator project is a project led by the Environment Bureau. If the Environment Protection Department, which is directly under the Environment Bureau is to monitor the project. There will be a conflict of roles. In accordance with Rule 37A, I urge the government to do this. That is, an independent body must be set up to monitor the operation of the incinerators. This should be done before the construction of the project. We now proceed to the votes. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 10 for, 18 against. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. According to FC paper FCR 2014-15-34A paragraph 6, the government said that the design is of an advanced incineration technology which is in line with EU standards. However, the EU chimney emission standards are now governing the emission of PCB and PAH. In accordance with Rule 37A, I urge the government to do this. That is, it should provide reports stating that the EU chimney emission standards are now not regulating the emission of PCB and PAH, and the impact on human health and environment should be assessed before the construction of the incinerators. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the results. 12 for, 20 against. I declare the motion negative. Fernando Zhang. Hong Kong does not have an effective waste sorting system, and for the waste sent to incinerators, we cannot ensure that they are fit for incineration, and the government hasn't provided us with any data or reports concerning waste sorting. In accordance with Rule 37A, I move that this committee should urge the government to analyze the potential risk of burning waste without sorting. Otherwise, the project should not start. We now proceed to the vote. Before I announce the results, please verify your votes. Voting is now closed. We now display the result. 13 for, 19 against. I declare the motion negative. Now we will take a break and we will come back at 5:10.